Hi guys, welcome to the show. It is your girl Sarah and Hiba right here on Relax Radio, and we're super excited to be here because Hiba hasn't been able to be here for a while. So Hiba, how are you? How are you feeling? How are you doing?
I'm still a bit poorly. All of last week I felt like I was being hit by a bus over and over again. And now I even lost my voice because I was coughing so much. But now I am back. I'm fit and fabulous and I'm ready to do this.
Yeah, everything is perfectly balanced as all things should be, right? Because your favorite co-hosts are back on the sunrise, and we're here to keep you company all the way until 9. And today we're actually going to be talking about something really, really interesting. However, before we head into the conversation, I want to very quickly remind you that you can, in fact, be a part of the show. All you need to do is just text us on 078 Share your thoughts, share your opinions with us, and get in touch with us and let us know what you're thinking. And Hiba will actually tell you how exactly to get in touch with us through our socials. So why don't you tell everyone?
Guys, you can get in touch with us on our socials through Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and you can even catch our show live on YouTube and on the Relax Radio app, which is now available on Google, Android, and the Apple Store.
Exactly. So, without waiting much longer, let's actually get into the conversation because this conversation that we're going to have right now is, in fact, a very important conversation, right? Because we're talking about how exactly social media plays a role in terms of gun violence. All right, and obviously, the situation that we're referring to is the very latest Plymouth shooting that happened on Sunday, if I'm not mistaken. And it was five people died, and it was six including the gunman, and it was one of the biggest problems that we spoke about, or that was all over the news, right? So that's why we're going to be talking about this now. How exactly do you think social media plays such a huge role in terms of gun violence, Iba?
I mean, personally, I feel like there's like both a pos like a yes and a no. I think with some social media outlets, there are some content pages that make having guns look cool. I mean,
Yeah.
it's the whole they specifically the malware of it, how it looks, making it present. Like, I think it's one thing to like recognize the beauty of a gun or whatever, but also you've got to realize this is a dangerous weapon. But I feel like it's sort of like, remember that argument when people had about, does violence in video games affect the youth? I feel like there's like a yes and a no to it. Like a no, because obviously people have common sense and they understand that this is just a video game. But also, it's something that can, influence a person, in some way or another. Like, not even the violence aspect of it, sometimes just the outlook. Should I?
Yeah.
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 It's social media, I think it does create a part of it, especially now that like incel culture is like rising, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, so we'll actually talk about that incel culture in a little bit, but to address your points that you just stated about social media, how sometimes there's a yes and a no, and something that I really wanted to mention is that when it comes to social media, essentially when you have all of these, I mean, social media is a platform that basically anyone can use, right? And they tend to have minimal restrictions, right? Instagram says they don't really have a bullying, like they don't stand bullying, they're not for bullying. And the moment you get bullied, they usually take down someone's post or whatnot. However, even though that is the case, sometimes it takes a really long time for them to even respond to that, right? So in my opinion, I feel like social media essentially provides a platform without any restrictions for people to express these kind of thoughts, right? Because
Yeah,
one of the biggest problems that we have is that people can very freely talk about violence and how it's something that is absolutely amazing to them, and how they're how they feel happy, especially when they see violence, right?
yeah,
Which, if you think about it, is in fact very scary because forget about the shootings that happened here in Plymouth, right? We've also seen shootings in the rest of the world. Like, there are so many shootings that happen in the United States, right? Basically, it happens so much, and it's crazy the amount amount of the frequency in which it happens, right? However, even though that's the case, I feel like something else we need to talk about is gun regulation, right? Because I specifically want to talk about United States, because you're seeing so many school shootings, you're seeing so many places where people are dying because of gun violence, and yet they sort of still refuse to, they still refuse to regulate it, they still refuse to ban guns, especially given the fact that so many people in the past few years have died simply because of gun violence.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And I feel like the fact that in the United States, having a gun is so like, I think it's so centralized and so normalized, and to the point where it's literally so, as convenient as walking into a shopping center and
Honestly.
getting a gun from Walmart. Like, how you literally just turn left and there's an entire section of guns, bullets, and there's rarely any. In some states, there are barely any regulations. That's what makes it even worse. So it's literally so easy for you to go into a Walmart of all things, buy a gun without even a 3 day waiting period. I think that's as much regulation as they have in America, a 3 day waiting period, and that's it.
Honestly, yeah.
So mind boggling, because like you are aware that this is what's happening. This is like point A to point B. Like it's the guns and it's the lack of regulations. But at this point, I feel like it's just willful ignorance because guns are so deeply ingrained into the American culture
Yeah.
that they are literally refusing to let go of them.
That's absolutely true. However, we're going to actually head into a small break now, and we will be back to discuss more of this. So until then, make sure that you stay tuned, because we're having a very interesting conversation and we want to know your thoughts and opinions on this. So we're going to head into a break and we will be back soon.
Cycling in London is not child's play. How to be a better cyclist. Listen to my show, only on Relaks Radio. I'm Kevin. Join me every Thursday, 5 p.m. Look forward to seeing you.
Welcome back to the show. We're super excited to be here because we're having a very important and interesting conversation about social media, gun violence, why exactly guns need to be regulated, and whether there's actually a need or a necessity for people to carry guns, right? For civilians to carry guns, right? So that's essentially what we're talking about. So don't forget to actually get in touch with us and share your thoughts and opinions with us, because we would love to hear what you have to say. All right, you can talk about, you can let us know if you agree with us, if you disagree with us, and don't be afraid to text or call, because we definitely won't bite. Okay, and Heba will actually tell you ways in which you can get in touch with us through our socials.
Guys, you can get in touch with us through Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. You can even catch our show live on YouTube and on the Relax Radio app, now available on Google, Android, and the Apple Store.
Yeah, exactly. Now, before we actually head into our conversation about guns, gun violence, I want to very quickly, change your attention, focus your attention on something else, actually, because we actually need to talk a little bit about how how homes in the United Kingdom are actually going to be heated with hydrogen by 2030, right? And in my opinion, I think this is, I think finally they're understanding the gravity of the IPCC report, and they're finally realizing, oh look, we actually need to do something, because if we don't, we're probably not even going to have a country to rule. So, we probably should start taking some drastic measures. So that is what we're going to be talking about right now. And in my opinion, I feel like hydrogen and hydrogen-based economy, basically getting electricity from hydrogen and using that to heat or even to cook might actually help a lot of these people, because more people now are or other people now are more concerned about being sustainable, living greener lives, living cleaner lives. Don't you think that?
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like the whole green wave movement is really something that's taken over. The whole reusable, lacking waste in your life. We all see. I know. I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one who's seen all those TikToks about showing the different ways in you could like use the entire plant, not just half of it. Trying to live a waste-free life. And I think it's amazing that the UK government is, taking this initiative. I mean, we need it, but I think that they need to really focus on the green hydrogen and not the whole extracting hydrogen from fossil fuel and making even more pollution.
Exactly. Yeah, that's really true, right? And that whole thing you just said about extracting hydrogen from fossil fuels, that's actually referred to as blue hydrogen. And the reason it's actually much, much worse for the environment is sometimes when they're trying to trap those greenhouse gases to essentially make sure that they don't, they don't basically flee his when they try to do that, they actually create to more pollution, because even though they try to do that, there are some instances when that does in fact get out, right? And that is in fact one of the that's quite terrible. However, they're also thinking of absorbing hydrogen through water. So essentially the byproduct will be oxygen, and I think that's a very cool way to go about it, because oxygen isn't necessarily going to be it's not going to be a substance that pollutes the environment, right? Given the fact that we all literally need oxygen to breathe, it's actually quite helpful. And I think in terms of that, that's actually amazing as well. But I actually want to talk a little bit about how this change is going to create a lot of jobs, is going to contribute to the GDP of our country as well. Because I was reading somewhere that by 2030 we can basically have we can basically contribute 900 million pounds to our economy, while also creating about 30,000 jobs, if I'm not mistaken.
I think it's I think it's not just about the labor aspect, that work in the factories. It's also the fact that we have more scientists that are working in research that is going to better our environment. We've got more scientists working on this entire project, which is gonna it's a whole new generation of scientists coming into a new field that is going to better our environment and better our impact on the earth, essentially.
Yeah, that is absolutely true as well. And I feel like we also need to talk about how some of the energy that is being used, they're basically going to use this hydrogen energy to basically power a lot of industries, right? And they're also going to use it to power heavy industries like transport and energy. And I think that's amazing as well, because it's a lot of, usually in the transport industry and in the energy industry, that's where we have some of the highest carbon emissions, right? Obviously, because we have trains, we have other types of transport that use that use fossil fuels, and they contribute a lot to those greenhouse gas emissions that are there in place. So that, I think, is also an amazing way to go about it, because with this you're actually going to have more people, you're actually going to have more of these industries become much cleaner and much greener.
You're absolutely right. And to add to that, we could also see many sort of like industries that were once dead come back, in a re-emergence. We can also inspire a lot of people to take on these jobs as like in apprenticeships and things like that.
Yeah, honestly, that's so true. And right now we're going to head into a small break, but don't worry, because we will be back after this conversation to share more thoughts and opinions with you with regard to social media, with regard to gun violence, and why exactly that's a big problem. All right. So until then, make sure you stay tuned, because we're going to head into a small break now.
The valuations that you place on an asset are always behind you. It's always in hindsight. It's never in front of you. And that's one of the challenges, right? Because you're always valuing what happened yesterday. And what you need is what's going to happen tomorrow. What am I saving or investing for? Why am I doing it? When will I